Tegaho. Oh, innocent Mutanga. I am from Zimbabwe. Yes, Lamfe, the southern part of Africa. So I came to Hong Kong 10 years ago as a refugee. So when I got here, I only really had very little to my name. I had 200 Hong Kong dollars and a few of my books, and a few clothes. So when I got to the airport, the immigration officer asked me, "Oh, you're coming here. Do you have money?" I had 200, so I said, "Yes, I have money." If you are brown or black, it's very unlikely that you go through the immigration without going through some, small room for some investigation. So I had to go to this little room, and then there, and then she started sort of interviewing me, trying to find out a little bit about me. And then one interesting thing, when she asked me, "Where are you going to stay?" To be honest, remember I came as a refugee. I'd not really done much homework before I came here. I didn't know much about Hong Kong, except what I'd watched in the movies. Which movies? Jackie Chan. I'd watched so much Jackie Chan movies. I think I watched all of them. And I watched them again and again and again. So there was one of my favorite movies called Rush Hour. And then Rush Hour, there's Chris Tucker, there's Jackie Chan. A brother, a black guy comes to Hong Kong, and they are going around, having a good time. Me, I thought I'm going for a Chris Tucker experience. So that's very much little I knew. So when she asked me, "Where are you going to stay?" I didn't know any name. I was like, "Hey, if I say Hong Kong hotel, probably that's a very expensive hotel. I don't even know if there's a Hong Kong hotel." But in Jackie Chan's movie, he used to make a lot of police movies. So one of the movies was at the Yamaote police station. So I say, I was almost about to say Yamaote Hotel. And then the immigration officer was like, "What? You go stay in Chongqing mansions?" I was like, This lady thinks I'm so rich. She wants me to stay at a king's mansion. It's a mansion. Where I come from, mansion, it's something big. So I was like, "Whoa, okay." I knew I had $200, but I was like, "Now I'm going to be confident. Yeah, I'm going to the mansion." And then after a few questions, then she let me out. And then I went into when I was going out, and then I started asking, what's the nearest place I could go to? Because I had 200 Hong Kong dollars. I didn't think it was going to be enough for much. And then people told me, Lantau, from the airport. I was like, okay, Lantau, okay, somewhere close. And then the person was asking, I was like, have you considered to go to Chongqing Mansions? I was like, wow, everybody thinks I'm so rich in this place. So then, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to this mansion. I know what's in my pocket. So I took the nearest bus that was going to Lantau. So when I got on the bus, I'm sitting down. There was already somebody sitting there. And when I sat down, this other person was like, Moise. And then she stood up and then she went to sit in another seat. I'm like, where I come from, if a rich person comes, and they come to sit down, you stand up for them. So I was like, wow, I'm really, really rich in this place. I'm truly Hong Kong rich. This person is standing up. And then I went and then I got to this place, which was an English name on the bus. I'm like, I think I'm dropping here. This sounds a little bit like something. Then I got there. I met this lady there. And then I told her my story, like, you know what, I'm coming here. I'm fleeing. I told her all my story. And then she's like, well, you should go to Chongqing Mansions. It's like, interesting. These Chongqing Mansions, I bet I have to go there. Because I couldn't run away from it. And then on the way, she told me the directions, took the train, Tongchong, stuff like that. And I got there, I'm sitting down on the train. People stood up again. It's like, whoa, very rich man, huh? But it took me some time to figure out, no, man. These people are not standing up because I'm rich. They're standing up because I look different. I'm darker in skin color. With time, I began to see this everywhere, on almost every train. That when I'm going with my Chinese friends on the train and there's only one seat left, I'm like, just chill out. I'll sit down first. Once I sit down, that person is gonna stand up. So I was like, you know what? Sit down. Then I sit down, I'm like, bingo, now you gotta sit. So these things happen a lot. I have already grown numb to it. But at some point, it kind of gets into your skin. You're like, nah, man, what's wrong with these people? This is not right. This is not like the Chris Tucker experience. I was expecting a more inclusive, a more diverse place where people of different colors, everybody's going to have a good time and the people can come together. But I realized this is a recurring theme among my friends. I started talking to people who were here, Africans or Indians, who were here, and they're telling me, one guy was telling me that he was there with his girlfriend on the train, Chinese girlfriend, he's from Africa. An old lady come, and then she write a note in Chinese. They say, be careful of black people. A random old lady come and say that. And then later on, when I stayed here longer, I launched something called the Africa Center Hong Kong, social enterprise. So we do a lot of programs. And usually when we bring school students and they come in, and then we usually ask them, before you came here, or at some point in the past, if anybody ever tell you to be afraid of us, 70% raise their hands. And this is not just local schools, international schools as well. Is that bad? I'm like, wow, are we that scary? We are a little bit more than 3,000 people here. How can somebody, 70% of parents, tell their kids to be afraid of black people? I was like, well, this is a problem, which sort of inspired me to say, we're going to start a center which is focused on rebranding blackness, basically rebranding, changing the perceptions of people on what to be, on how to, how people can interact with black people and realize that we're not these dangerous creatures that people have to run away from. So these everyday forms, if you look into some countries, like in the US, when it comes to discrimination, sometimes it manifests in different ways. Could be a person comes with a gun and starts shooting people, or going to a church, a black church, and starts shooting people in a black church. Here is this everyday microaggression. It doesn't manifest in guns and all that stuff. It's usually these everyday microaggressions, like, okay, when I rent a place, the neighbors all already start complaining to the landlord that, oh, why are you bringing these people here? Maybe their food stinks, that we can't cook our food anymore. That the landlord tells me when I'm getting to a place, like, just make sure you cook food not so smelly, okay? Otherwise, I lose the neighbor or so. So it becomes harder. That when I have to rent a place, I have to bring a Chinese-looking person. Lucky for me, I have a Japanese wife. When I just bring the Japanese brand, everybody like, yeah. So when you're in a place like this, where you got these issues, where people have this everyday aspect, people have these fears, and to some extent, people are very curious. I always talk about how people they tend to like to ask me, like, oh, why your hand here so black and here so white? This is curiosity, which is a good start. So how do you approach in solving these issues of lack of inclusivity in a place like that? At the Africa Center, we have two methods that we use. One is to run towards your fears. That's key. Once you sit down, once I come and sit down next to you on the train, if you're about to stand up, maybe it's the time you actually sit down and it's like, wait. Am I that bad of a person that I'm about to stand up? And then you sit down there, you reflect very carefully on why am I uncomfortable just because this person is either Indian or is Pakistan or is from Africa, has sat down next to me. Once you start reflecting, then you can start making some changes. But these things happen to many, many people. I can guarantee you, some of you here do it very unconsciously. Try to be very conscious next time. You see a black guy on the train, try to see who's coming sitting next to him. I used to do an Olympic competition with my Indian friends just to see who are they more afraid of. We get on the bus, and then I say, you sit on that side of the bus, I sit on that side of the bus. Let's see how they're going to do this. People come, they sit the furthest from us first, and then at some point they have nowhere to go. And then I see, sometimes the Indian guy wins, sometimes I win. And then we celebrate that I won. This is one approach. We usually take kids to come to, for example, visit Chongqing Martians in Chimsacho. And then we're like, you know what? Don't be scared. If you're scared, that's okay. But don't run away from that. Run towards your fear. Approach it and actually try to understand it. Then you can be able to move on from something that you're struggling with. And then the second thing that I think is the way that we do it at the Africa Center is something that I'll call a thick experience. Experiencing a thick experience of a culture of people. And this involves 5 senses. I don't have to say which are the 5 senses. It's a thick experience. As an anthropology person myself, we talk about, writing a thick description, for example. A thick description is really something that writes and incorporates everything about those people that an outsider can be able to understand and appreciate. But a thick experience includes five senses. You go in, you experience the food, you hear their music, you talk to them, you understand how they actually explain things, how they understand them from inside. But one of the mistakes that people make is that once they see something, but they never really hear, and then you have limited understanding of that, and then you start developing stereotypes. It's very easy to develop stereotypes. You go to Chongqing Mansion, you see somebody looking at you, and then you're passing, looking at you, like, oh, sexual harassment. Let me run away. But here's what you don't understand. That's why it's very, very important to look inside and actually understand from the inside. What you don't understand is some people just came there 2 weeks ago. And somebody where they come from, it's not like Hong Kong where there's 7-point-something million people in a small space. Some people are coming from a certain place where there's 15 people really. When you see a person, you do look at them. Eye contact is cultural. Don't make judgments pretty quickly. Here, people are very short, eye contact. If you go some places, less people, eye contact, they spend more time looking at people. I went to school in CUHK in Mutanga. When I was there, the first time I was there, the teacher asked a question, and the local students would take like 30 seconds without answering. I'm like, wow, these people have an interesting tolerance of silence. The first time I was forced to answer. But my friends from the US, the teacher asked a question, they're like, wow, nobody answered. They start answering. Then in the end, we don't hear the local students speak. Because the tolerance of silence is different. Those are all cultural things. So once you start having a thicker experience, then you'll be able to understand a people and a community better. And then once you do that, so you approach, you run towards your fears, and then once you're there, try to have a thick experience, and then these prejudices start to fall off. Because the current methods that people are using for diversity, equity, and inclusion workshops, for example, are not really meeting the cut. Especially in a Hong Kong context. It's actually bad. It's sad because once a person sits down in a room at work and then they do some diversity workshop, little stickers, and then they're like, yeah, I'm a better person now. Now, it just gives people the confidence that they have done something. But in actual fact, they still have a lot more things to work on. That's why I think everybody should have a thicker experience of different people's cultures, as well as running towards your fears. And then we can look forward to a future where Hong Kong is a truly inclusive city. Thank you.